Hello, this is Lisa Rose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to say hello, Michael. Welcome, and so excited for the show today. It's going to be lots and lots of fun.
Thank you. I'm jazzed about being here, as always. Yes.
It's absolutely true. It is about being here, there, and everywhere, which is kind of where I've been. I'm in my home and native land in Canada, and I've been in, Calgary, Lethbridge, Milk River. I've been in, yesterday was in Medicine Hat, and I've been staying in Bow Island. And not too many traffic lights and not too much going on, although there was an Oktoberfest the other night, which was lots of fun.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's for anybody who's not been in Alberta. I'm in the prairies, which is wide open sky, flat, beautiful landscape, amazing sunsets, stars as far as the eye can see because there's not a lot of light pollution. And it's a slice of heaven, truly. It's to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. But it reminds me of the big metaphor that everything is perfect exactly where you are. And truly, I just look at that every day, and I just am so grateful. And it's just such a beautiful feeling to sort of reconnect to that sense of freedom that I had as a child, to be able to just feel that wide open space and that freedom. Although when I'm home in Pittsburgh, I love the greenery and the hills and everything else, but it's as my aunt put it, she goes, it's a little bit claustrophobic, which I had to laugh about it because here we are in this time-space continuum. And you're in Florida, and so you're experiencing heat, but the heat here is dry. It's very dry, so there's no humidity. So I have fairly normal hair as opposed to my hair that likes to do everything this side of Sunday and just do what it wants to do in the humidity. Yeah, so I'm in Western Canada helping my great aunt transition from her home into a facility where she'll have a little bit more support. And we've just had so much fun because she saved everything. She was so organized, and her memory is impeccable. And so yesterday afternoon, I sat down with her. She had autographs books from 1932, and we were reading what her sisters and the other people that were in her school wrote to her as little memories. And wow. It's a stitch. And she has her original report cards from 5th through 10th grade. And what was so interesting, when she was in school, her 5th grade teacher actually room and boarded with them at their house. Now, my great-grandparent came from Wisconsin. My great-grandmother came from Norway, and they heard that they could break land in Canada. So they basically came here into the wild unknown to farm. And it was... Yeah, it's a true testament of will and determination. And I think to myself, I was just saying to my cousin last night, how you provide for a family of 11. They had what was called a Democrat. It was a wagon that my great-grandfather would bring the children to school in. And in the wintertime, it was a sleigh. Truly. Quite amazing. And my cousin, she has the Democrat, the actual wagon. It's fallen a little bit into disrepair, but it's awfully neat that it's still in the family. It's pretty amazing stuff.
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
You have to in some way have somebody to make sure that it doesn't completely fall apart. That is some serious legacy.
It is. It's really amazing. Just even the things that she saved, and to have that perspective of 102 years is really, really remarkable, because when we were going through her autograph book, and I would bring up a name, she would tell me, oh, that was my neighbor, and she would tell me little anecdotes and stories about them. And then we started going through some photographs, because oftentimes people don't write the names on the back of photos and the stories. And so I recorded a lot of the conversation that we had yesterday, because I don't know that I'll remember everything as well as she has. And it's really delightful, though. I showed her a picture today. I said, okay, who's in this picture? Somebody's smoking and somebody's drinking. And she told me all about it. She goes, oh, yeah, I was having a beer. And her once, when I was going through all the pictures from her childhood, of all of the sisters, because I can kind of judge by age, but she said, oh, Doris, that was Doris. Doris was the only girl that wore slacks. We all wore dresses except Doris wore slacks. And then she showed me the neighbor, what he had written in her autograph book, and his name was Ollie Bill. And he taught her how to rope. And there's a picture of her in chaps with a lariat and learning how to rope cattle. It is. It's really, really amazing. And yeah, it kind of gives me a new appreciation of where and how life takes you. And I thought about that. I found a Canadian dime today, which is always my sign that the angels are always around me whenever I find a dime. I thought, this is nice. Yeah, and I thought, well, what does it mean? You know, we have these being on the wings of angels, or being on the wings of love, and also being on the wings of appreciation, and really appreciating where you are in this time-space reality, and understanding that where you are is exactly where you need to be. Because here at 102 years young, she goes, I really don't know why I'm still here. And I thought, well, maybe it's to share all this great information with all your nieces and nephews and
so true.
Everybody else, that it can really, give us a new perspective and a new appreciation. And then she asked me, she said, well, she doesn't really, she said, well, we used to have church when we were kids. And I said, well, what did you do? She said, well, the minister would come in from a couple neighboring towns, and then we would always have a big meal, and we always had pie, and all the neighbors would come to our house and have a church service, but then they wouldn't see him maybe for another month or something, and then when he'd come back, it would be in another family's house. And it's so different for me, even just to take a look at that. But she had made a comment to my cousin the other day about, well, she didn't really know what to do, like when she dies. She goes, well, do I go up there, or what do I do? It made me think so much about, it was just so cute and so comical. And I thought, well, really, there is no up there or out there. It's really, everything is within. From all of the self-realization teachings that I have understood, it's all about us being part of the whole and the greater being. And Sara Landon, who I absolutely love, the teachings from the council, had said that, time is not linear, that it's actually spherical or circular. And I thought, well, yeah, I kind of like that idea. It sort of connects with that infinity wave that you and I always talk about, Michael, and jumping on that wave, and then we cross paths with whoever we cross in the center, and then we kind of go out a little bit more and come back a little bit in, and then we end up exactly where we're meant to be. Yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective, Michael. I mean, I know you're exactly where you're meant to be today, and the grand adventure of life. Love to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to tell you something. First and foremost, that your aunt is 102 is fabulous. That's number one. And the fact that she's so sharp, and that her memory is just absolutely crystal clear. That is a blessing in itself, just to say. And it could be a testament to her living, or just the fact that, she's not done yet. There's more that she's here to do, and that will move forward. She'll move forward from when she's finished with her mission. I was thinking about appreciation, quite frankly, after hearing that bit from the video you sent me from Abraham Hicks, and I was like, wow. It got me thinking about how it's so darn easy to step into the weeds of life, the little nuances of living every single day, living and working, and how appreciation is something that you have to work at. As Abraham was talking about the fact that, you may not get through an entire day, the first day, appreciation beginning to end. Very rarely do people actually experience that. It's something that you work at it. You may not do it the first day. You may get partway through the day, and then you do it the next day, and the next day, the next day, and months later. And at some point, you're going to you're going to move through an entire day with appreciation, with a feeling of appreciation. And I'm sitting there listening to this going, gosh, that's so true. And it depends. Sometimes it depends on what you do for a livelihood. Your livelihood can involve solving problems, having to manage people, having to manage mentally, deal with circumstances, process circumstances that are way, way beyond your control, and knowing that what we have control of is our own mental state, and appreciation is a state of being. And so it does take work, literally. It just takes effort, focus, and attention to actually be there. And I again have committed this afternoon, recommitted for the umpteenth time, to bringing more appreciation into my life as a state of being in a state of appreciation more throughout the day. I'm probably about 75% there. Working on that other 25%, 25 to 30%, because that completes you. It's amazing things can happen. I do a lot of different things. I put a lot of energy and love and positive energy into things that I do in terms of creativity, inspiration. And I just have to say this: I am keeping a transcribed journal of my channelings.
Fantastic!
Yeah, and I'm constantly blown away by not only the what I'm being given, what I'm bringing through. I'm also blown away by the length of what I'm bringing through. It's like, a couple of 5x7 pages of it doesn't seem that much. I'm sitting there and it doesn't seem like it's 14 minutes, but I sit down and transcribe it, and wow, I keep writing. I think that was it. No, I keep writing. What I'm talking, I'm sitting there going. Then I look at it and read it all the way through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really, really amazing that I can. There's just no doubt that it's not me. Right? There's no doubt that the realization that you're actually doing it is absolutely amazing. Makes you feel effervescent. It makes you feel so energized, and understanding that you're realizing something that you were here, that you're meant to do, one of your soul intentions, so to speak. So I'm having such a great time with that, and in just being relaxed. And today was the first day I could walk in 4 days, because it's been raining. And when I walk, I do one of my golf videos, YouTube videos, and my mind is focused on that and on just being in the outdoors, smelling the air, seeing the birds and the squirrels, and sometimes a couple of herons here and there. And it's just fun. And I think that from a standpoint of appreciation, it's very easy to be out in that state and be appreciative because of where I am and what I'm doing. I appreciate the work I do. I'm working on appreciating all the other little nuances that I have no control over, because every day it's something different, something new. And I live in a world where I work with forces that are in either fear state or greed state. Fear or greed all day long. And I have to deal with that in a positive way. And I've been doing this for years, so I can't say that I'm immune to it, because I'm just like anybody else. I'm human. And I have to remind myself that I'm being caught up in whatever the fear or greed of the moment is, and then step back, step away, and as both the teachers and Abraham said, focus on something different. Get up, walk outside, fill the fountain, water the plants, look at the flowers, totally just disengage with whatever it is and let it dissipate, and then come back and focus on something different. But I appreciate that you're up there, and I have one question for you.
Sure.
Can you see the Milky Way?
Absolutely. There is not. When I say that there is no light pollution, where I'm staying, it takes about 8 minutes to get to the nearest town. And the interesting thing and I forgot about this just because I haven't been on these highways for so long. When I was driving down, I was on a highway, and I didn't see a car for probably 30 minutes, another car on the road at all. And it's flat, so you can really, and I forget that that people pass, and they pass because you can see really as far as the eye can see. And the moon, it hangs, it was a sliver of the moon. It was just really pretty crescent moon last night, and the sky was a beautiful pink, and just as if somebody had taken a paintbrush and just washed everything together along the horizon. It doesn't get dark until late either, and that's the other thing. But
you're a bit north. Yeah, probably around 10 or 11 it starts to get dark.
Yeah, so it is. It's very peaceful. And it's in resonant harmony with where I'm at right now. And I I so appreciate, Michael, because in the other realm of my world, which is all of the things that need my attention probably when I get back, I'm not allowing any fear or apprehension. I'm not even thinking about anything that's going on there. I know that everything's taken care of, and because otherwise I would have gotten a phone call, so there's no sense worrying. I'm just being here in the present moment. And I actually heard a really good expression, and it made me think about it. And when you don't allow fear, they said, don't lean into it. And I thought, leaning into fear. And you think about that when you lean on somebody and you're like, okay, well, just take a little peek at it. I'm leaning in. Next thing you know, you're full-fledged into lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and not where you want to be. But when you are the opposite and you're just in this perfect flow of allowing your awareness to come in and the peace and the harmony and allowing that joy to flow, it really becomes sort of effortless. And so if you're peeking around a corner into a room where, no, not so much, and you kind of sneak out of there, have you ever done that? Like, I don't want to enter into that room because guess what? There's a whole bunch of things that I don't even want to open up that can of worms. I'll just kind of
you don't want to deal with
my way out.
Yeah, yeah. Been there.
Yeah, but I think that what that is, Michael, is about that consciousness and an intentional right to choose. And we sometimes forget about that. As sovereign beings, we have the choice of where we want to put our awareness. And so if we choose that and really are aware that we are this amazing part of this infinite source, which I'm completely reminded of because I'm in this wide open space, and I want it to allow it to flow through me. And I can just be in that space of allowing and connecting with the source and the truth of who I am. And it's a great reminder. I have so many things that I remember from when I was a little kid. And my cousin and I were laughing about it because she's grown up on the prairie and she was always with all of my great aunts. And she said she really feels at home. She said, I love it here. It's just where she feels that peacefulness. She said, I don't really like the city. Where somebody who was from the city was like, well, you're missing out on this. And no, guess what? She isn't missing out on anything.
Oh, gosh.
Because she loves her life exactly where she is. And that's a gift. That's a gift. She's not wishing for another life. She loves where she is. And where she is beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. You know, the people who are in the city, in a busy city, the busyness, the crowds, the queues, all that becomes normal. Mm-hmm. And it's what becomes our existence, and our reality is created by the way that we, of course, think about all of that. When we move away from that to the country, as you're experiencing right now, none of that noise exists, none of the traffic, none of the people, the things that you are stimulated by on a daily basis suddenly just wash away. They're gone. And now you're in a state of harmony, of peace. And it's, for some people who come from a city, it's very challenging to get a grip on it because I call it this fight or flight mode when you're in the city. You know, a sense of struggle, which you have to work to get from point A to point B, through the people, around the traffic, you know, on the train if necessary, however whatever your transportation mode is, you have to work at getting there, right? And all you have to do is get in the car and drive 8 minutes, right? No traffic, don't have to see a car. And there's it's if you didn't have anything playing in the car, no radio, no earbuds in your ears playing anything on YouTube or whatever, you'd have this sense of peace and calm that you're never going to obtain in the city, ever. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's like completely turning a page. Oh, actually not that. Switching a channel from one frequency to another. All of a sudden you've gone from busy to silent. And now I have to ask you, what's been going through your mind with all this silence? How have you dealt with that? I know in a positive way, but how are you? What's been happening in your head with all of this peace and quiet?
You know, I think it's pretty empty. Quite honestly, it's that returning to the present moment. I'm really not thinking about anything. The other day, after we were done, basically we were worked all day packaging up her belongings and going through things. And she had gotten rid of a lot, but boy, there was still a lot of stuff in the house and things that she had saved that meant something to her. And then when we were done, I said, does anybody want to go for some ice cream? And nobody took me up on it. And I thought, well, guess what? I'm going for ice cream. And I went and found a little ice cream shop in Canada. It's a Canadian delicacy. It's called either licorice ice cream or tiger ice cream. And tiger ice cream is licorice swirled with an orange. And it's creamy. And it just, oh my goodness, I went into this beautiful little place. I actually took some pictures. I was going to post it on Instagram. It's a little conscious ice cream store, and they were having an Oktoberfest outside, and I went in and I said I wanted a whole scoop, and I had it in a waffle cone, which normally I don't have a waffle cone, and I just sat inside and I savored it and enjoyed the conversation in this ice cream shop, and it was just fantastic. It was so nurturing, and it's farmland here, so they grow. This area is known for its corn. It's also known for its dairy. And I'll tell you, even when I got a little bit of milk at the convenience store that was in a just plastic thing, oh my gosh, it was 2%, so rich and creamy. I thought, oh my gosh, this is the way milk is supposed to taste.
2% rich and creamy. That's an oxymoron.
Oh, I know, but it was
down here.
So, it's because it's so fresh. It really comes right from where they milk it right into the convenience stores, and it's so fresh. And there's a community of, they have the Mennonites here, and they have what they call the Friends. And so they're farmers, but they're a little bit different than the Amish in the fact that they use a lot of modern things, but they own a lot of land. It's a big sense of community, though. And you see the fathers, they dress a little bit different than the Amish do. The women wear polka dot kerchiefs and usually long black skirts, but they've modernized. They have their cell phones. They go to the mall, and you see them. It's a little bit different than when I was growing up. We used to always go out and get the eggs from the Hutterites, and I would go see a healer. She used to do reflexology on my feet when I was sick. My grandmother used to take me so that I could receive healings from the woman. Yeah, it was, as a kid, it was a little intimidating, but I find it so fascinating because it really was my first introduction to what I was doing later on in life, working on other people's feet. So, it all serves a purpose, right?
That's true. Well, for you, it's been a lifelong journey for you that began as a child, holistic healing. Well, wow, what a treasure that was, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think in some ways I took a selfie this morning when I woke up. My hair was all crazy and whatnot, but I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, geez, I think I look 10 years younger.
Oh, yeah, that's the picture we want to see on Instagram. Come on now.
Okay, with my hair all over the place. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. That's stuck your finger.
Yeah, I will suck it up and post that picture because I looked in the mirror. I thought, geez, I look really relaxed. I'm sleeping a lot, and meaning that I go to bed 10:30, which is not early.
You don't ever get to bed at 10:30.
I know.
That is amazing.
But I was also up at 6, so full days and whatnot. So it's very soul nurturing, and I went and had a really fantastic meal yesterday. I had an amazing salad. I went into town. I drove to go to the nearest town from where I'm at is about a 45-minute drive, but I went there for lunch because I wanted to have a nice lunch. And then the day that I got the ice cream, I found a really fantastic Indian restaurant, and the people were from Nepal and just so beautiful and so kind. It was just wonderful. Yeah, it is.
That food is amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it sounds like what you stepped into is another world, and a world that is peaceful and nurturing, and you've got plenty of time, and you've got your regular sleeping pattern back, which you probably haven't had for eons, right?
Yeah.
With what you're into. Yeah. Every time I turn around, it's up till 4:00 in the morning. Yeah, really? But up there, your whole circadian rhythm is on. You're seeing so many stars, I bet you're seeing meteors and all kinds of really cool stuff. I don't know how much of a night watcher you are, but I'm mesmerized by, I know when I'm in a place where I can see that much. I'm going back to Cabo in a week and a half, and I believe, I don't know if it was September, I think it was September last year, 2 years ago, that the Perseid meteor shower was happening, and 2 o'clock in the morning, I got out I took a blanket and sat out on the sun lounger, and for about an hour and a half, I was just watching meteors shoot across the sky.
And, fantastic.
I'm like, yeah, man. I'm going, this is pretty darn amazing to see this something that, I mean, they were brighter because up here and even in the eastern sky, you can see them, but they're not as bright as they are in a place that doesn't have so much ambient light. But you know, here's the thing I want to.
I actually have a question for you about that, Michael. So when you are under the stars like that and watching the meteors, do you feel beyond space and time? Do you sort of feel like you're part of the infinite all? Even I know you do anyway, but on a greater sense, do you feel even more connected universally when you're in that space?
Oh yeah. It's really interesting. It was a little cool out that evening. I had my sweats on and I had a blanket on because Cabo is kind of a desert area. It's the whole peninsula is sort of like a desert except for a little climate zone up in Ensenada. But it was cool, and I'm just laying there, and you're so focused. You're focused on the blackness of the sky, and just totally hyper aware and alert because it can come from they come from right to left, they come from up to down, north to south, and you never can tell how bright it's going to be. So you don't want to move your eyes anywhere else. It's sort of like when I'm doing that, I'm sort of into a state of total relaxation. My eyes are completely and totally relaxed to the point where I can catch light coming from anywhere peripherally or direct. And you're just sitting there, and time just floats by, and it's mesmerizing because you do get this sense of peace, the sense of I'm connected to something greater than me because I'm seeing things that are coming from far out in space and burning up in our atmosphere, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible to see it under those circumstances. I have to tell you this because I was looking on Instagram, on my Instagram feed today, and there was a gentleman who, when I'm in Cabo on the 25th and 26th, he's leading a group of people into White Sands, New Mexico. Yeah, and I've got to send you a picture of what the last time looked like for him. We're talking about full-on Milky Way. We're talking about stars. We're talking about amazing sunsets and sunrises, and there's no light out there, zero light in White Sands, and you had to get permission to go there, and he had permission, and he's taking a group of people because it was so absolutely fabulous. And he's a photographer, an astrophotographer, so he takes pictures of the sky in its various shapes and sizes and tones and colors and states, that sort of thing. So he's teaching people how to do that. However, when I looked at that sky, it reminded me of when we had a hurricane here. We had a hurricane, oh my gosh, this was about 12 years ago. We had a hurricane, and it knocked the power on the beach, knocked power out on the beach where my condo was for 3 days. And so it was pitch black down there. And my girlfriend and I went to my condo because they had evacuated the beach, and we were about a mile and a half away. We went to the condo and spread out the sun beds and just looked up at the sky, and that's the last time I've seen the Milky Way. It was when it was totally pitch dark, when the power was out after a hurricane had knocked it out, and it was glorious. We just sat out there and just in awe of the sky and what you could see. And it's interesting because none of us can see this, and in the cities, too much ambient light, too much everything, right? Or it's just there's there's light everywhere, shining from everywhere, reflecting off the sky, and you're just not able to immerse yourself in those kinds of conditions, which can be very, very healing mentally for you to be out there. It just gives you this sense of there's something greater than you, which ordinarily you just wouldn't feel, but when you're looking at the sky in those circumstances, that is the beauty that you absorb. And I know you're having such a great time. I'm very envious, actually, of where you are.
You're 100% right. And, I didn't realize we're actually recording this show a few days early, and it's 9/9 today. Is that correct? It's 9/9.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's 9/9/24.
So, yeah, and somebody had posted, and I can't remember who it was, and I just looked back because I had written down some notes about today, and it completely escaped my consciousness, but it said 9/9 is a powerful gateway of transformation. And I would say that any day can be a gateway, but this is particularly a powerful gateway, but you can utilize the energies even after 9/9. But it's a gateway so that you can release anything that no longer serves your higher purpose. And I love that languaging, because we don't think about things that serve our higher purpose. But when we let go of them, we open up space so that there can be new beginnings and new things to come in. And so when we free ourselves of those old energies, we're able to create a whole new plethora of things that align with our deepest desires and aspirations and whatever it is that we want to bring in. And perhaps that is the timing of my trip. I was meant to be here now, here, right now, so that I can allow that infinite to flow into my experience and to really perceive it even savor it with those wings of appreciation. And I again, same thing. I love that languaging. I mean, you're flying on the wings of love, but the wings of appreciation. And what does that mean? Like here, that's exactly what I feel like. I can spread my arms, and I'm in any direction. I'm not touching anything. So I kind of have this opportunity, this time space right here that's circular, to kind of allow things to flow. And I'm sure that when I go back home being where I currently reside, because home is really everywhere, anywhere you choose to be. But when I go back, I think that I'll be seeing things with fresh eyes. I don't think that, when you have an experience like I'm experiencing now, where I revisit and really nurture my soul, you don't go back the same way. Just like when you travel to another country.
You're not. It's every day. What we forget sometimes. It's easy to think, I'm just going to sleep and I'm picking up where I left off yesterday. Well, can't do that. That's not the way it works, because the moment of now is the moment of now. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Now you're in the present, and you've exposed yourself to something or I should say, enlightened yourself of the power of where you are, the fact that it's out in the middle of a prairie-like area, and that you've got a totally black sky. You're there with your aunt, who's 102. You're being exposed to an environment that is unlike where you've been in the past several years since you were last up there. And there's no way in the world you're going to be the same person even tomorrow that you were today, because your sensory perception is so heightened. You're ingesting all this different stimulus, this calming stimulus, this spatial stimulus, and I think that and I should say spiritual stimulus at the same time. The question, you just said something very interesting about 9/9/24. Mm-hmm. Let go of things, and I'm going to kind of point this question at our audience and say, here on PRN FM, and say, what is it? What mindset? What thoughts? What memories are you holding on to that you've refused to let go of? And why not take this opportunity to let them go? It's not as if there's only so much space in your mind. However, it's to me, it's like very rarely do we think about this. Very rarely do we think about what thought viruses have been driving our lives, what perceptions have been driving our lives and our moods and our feelings, and do they still serve us? It's about moving forward into the new earth, which is a place of love and peace and kindness and joy and fun and excitement and passion and compassion and empathy and intuition. And do those things fit into your current mode of thinking? It's about making a major shift of just letting some things go, just jettisoning these thoughts.
I love that word.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It came to me. Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Jettison these things. I'm telling you, I'm using words now that I haven't used in a long time. It's like jettison, like you're out in space and let's get rid of that thing. Jettison it out there. Let it go. Let it float out into space. We don't need that thing anymore. And that's really it. You've got to jettison those thoughts, and because we are creating our reality in every moment, and through our thoughts and our feelings and our actions, and wow, our lives could change in a heartbeat if we would simply just jettison these things that we've been holding on to that no longer serve us, that aren't relevant to us, but we're hanging on to them out of either fear or what would fill the void, fill that space, if we didn't have that anymore, right? I know people who are, hanging on to friends that are, even though they're vibrating at a frequency that doesn't resonate with the friend that they have, that friend is still stuck in drama, stuck in pain and suffering, stuck in fight or flight mode. And it's not a matter of jettisoning the friend as much as it's jettisoning your connection, emotional connection to their drama, fight or flight, their struggle. Do you see what I'm saying? Because what we have a tendency to do is we have a tendency to allow other people's moods and mood swings and bad juju, so to speak, impact the way that we feel. And this is an opportunity to say, no more. That's their life. They're the one that has to change their thinking for their life to change. I can't change them for it. And there's a lot of people out there attempting day in and day out to control someone else, to get them to do things that they would like them to do, be the way that they would like them to be. And it's time to jettison all that. You don't have any control over another human being. And it's time to come to that realization. And when you do that, you lighten the load. It's like taking off a backpack full of bricks, and all of a sudden, I got this freedom. I no longer have to be attached to other people's drama, fears, worries, and concerns. That's for them to figure out. And that's what it's about. There was a time when both of you together had that fear, worry, and concern thing going together and doing this little act where you were in tandem with each other. But if you've moved on, and in your life, you've changed your life because you've changed your thinking, you've expanded your horizons, you've enlightened yourself through reading books or tapping into the teachers, tapping into Abraham, tapping into Bashar or anything else. New thoughts and ideas, new enlightenments coming in as to how you can be happier and more well-adjusted. Perhaps listening to this podcast has done it for you. Wow, that's a thing. Now is the time to jettison those connections and the attachments that are impacting the way you feel. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Michael. There's so much. I think so many times we get caught up and we're trying to strive for this, or we're going to seek that. And that was one of the things in the Abraham Hicks video. He's talking about Source and how Source doesn't organize things and this is good, this is not good, or does a spreadsheet trying to analyze, like, this is what I should do. And a lot of times, I hate to say, I'm not a spreadsheet kind of a girl, but I do know people that will plan out a lot of things in their life based on a spreadsheet. And I just allow things to flow. And Abraham said that that's not how source energy works. that it's an awareness of just quieting all that and going inward and remembering that you are whole and complete as you are. And I think as you align more with that truth of who you are, that's how you allow the infinite to flow through you. And everything with ease and grace. And that's how my flight went. That's how my car rental went. I got upgraded in both. And I'm thinking, driving in this luxury Volvo SUV, and I'm thinking, wow, I've been put into this car. I'm like, this is a pretty nice car. Maybe this is what maybe this is my next car. And it inspired me to go on and look and see, well, what's the price of this car? I don't know what this car is. But I'm like, well, I could actually find one used. It would be pretty affordable. And I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't have been in that space because I had reserved a different type of car. But the agent, who was a beautiful sweetheart, Agnes, who I absolutely fell in love with, was so kind and so sweet to me at the car rental place. And I just said to her, I said, I got to mention you on the show because you are so kind. She even walked me to my car. I said, I've never had anybody walk me to my car. They usually have your map. Here it is. Make sure that everything's okay. I gave her a hug. I just said, here's a thing for our podcast. Take it to listen to it. And she goes, oh, I just love this. And when she saw me, she goes, oh, my goodness, you're so beautiful. And she was so sweet. And I said, thank you. You're so beautiful, too. And then she said, no, your whole aura, I can just feel all the love from you. And I thought, wow, she sees me and I see her. And I just love that interaction. But it is, when you're in that flow, when you step into that flow of creation, we talked about it a little bit last week when we were talking about being in the now. But that's where the synchronicities, that's where the magic happens, that's where the inspiration and the manifestation, they just happen naturally. I didn't have to force that. Like, I didn't have to go, well, I think I deserve a better car. No, I wasn't even expecting it. Yeah. It just happened.
I know people who are like that, Here's the thing. What you were, it's interesting because that, again, we're seeing this, you were in the heart of the experience. I'm outside of it, so I can simply say this, that what you were experiencing, as you well know, is the fact that the frequencies that you're resonating, you've got a validating experience. The positive, joyful, loving, compassionate, and empathetic person that you are, those frequencies that you are, and loving person, resonating. She could see them. She was somebody who could see them. And when you're in the service business, you become a very good read of people because she's in the right business because she's an empath when it comes to catching other people's resonance, right? So you attracted her. You attracted the person who upgraded you. People, you wonder how it was something that Abraham Hicks talked about in the last show. We kind of mentioned it, that when you're resonating those frequencies from deep within, that everything in your life becomes easy. Everything becomes easy. It's not a struggle at all. It's like you don't have to expect it. The dominoes just fall your way because you're in that zone. You call it the flow. That's one way of putting it. Your life is completely validating who you are, and that's what this trip is for you. It's still going on. You're right. When you get out and you get into other circumstances and you start working with different people who, the rental car people and flight people, I mean, this is what you're experiencing, what I experience all the time when I travel. And you meet awesome people and you have a smile because these people, they get bombarded by negative energy all day long. So they love it when somebody who resonates the frequencies, positive frequencies like they do, comes along, it's instantly recognizable, and they just want to do everything for you. They want you to have the most amazing experience because that's what they would do. That's how they feel about themselves. Yeah, and a lot of times I mean, I'm outside of it. When you told me when you first got upgraded, I'm laughing. I'm just literally laughing out loud. I'm going, she is going to have the most amazing experience on this trip. All these wonderful things are going to validate the loving, friendly, happy person that you are, and I'm happy to see it. I'm tickled to death about it. I really am, and it's a educational thing for our audience. Is listen, this is when you treat yourself in a loving way, in a compassionate and empathetic way, and you care for yourself. And we've always said, you got to love yourself first in order to receive love from others, and you do. And you're a living example right now of all the things we talk about on the show. Connecting to love begins with the love you have within for yourself. And then you're connected to it always. You're always connected to it. It's coming to you. And those experiences that other people talk about and write about, those one-star experiences, they come because we don't resonate, because those people don't resonate that. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, it literally, I know people when they travel, they have these wild expectations that everybody is there to be of service to them, and if they're not meeting their expectations, they're all upset, right? That's not. They don't love themselves. They don't love their life, and they're projecting negativity on other people. How are they going? Of course, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to get what you really truly deserve, because you're not treating yourself in the way that you really truly deserve. So, yeah, absolutely. It's a validation of one person's experience is exactly what the way they resonate, and that's what you've got. I mean, we just it's so crazy, but that's exactly it. It is so much that.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael, for validating, and thank you for saying that.
Again, the living example. We talked about it last week. That example last week. You're again a living example of what we talk about on this show. So I appreciate it, and hope our audience is getting this, because this is solid gold. This is gold, right? This is what this is.
So thank you. I'm really humbled by your words, very much so. I just it is truly. I do. I think I have a great big smile on my face. I'm waking up, and I'm just feeling and allowing the love and joy and whatever it is to guide me. And I get up in the morning, and sometimes I get to the hospital at a certain time. My great aunt had some visitors come down, and we had such a wonderful visit, and she was so happy. She wanted me to come to the hospital early to do her hair and get her ready. She wanted to look really nice. And here when I walked in, they had bathed her and washed her hair, and she was dressed in her clothes, and she had a big, huge smile on her face. And I was like, wow, I didn't even have to do her hair. It was all done. And she had a great big smile, and she was so happy. And it's so soul nurturing for me to see her so joyful and know that she is loved and cared for by so many people that adore her. And the police chief, when she turned 100, they came, and the police chief and his wife came and gave her a special it's like a little coin, and a commemoration and a plaque, and they took her out to dinner, and they have stayed friends since then. That's been 2 years ago, and they just are so kind to her, and it's just really, really sweet to see. And somebody asked me, they said, 102. Well, how many people in the community are that age? But it's nice. She lived in Montreal for a while, and then lived in Nanaimo, which is in British Columbia. But then she came back home. She came back home to the prairie, and this is where her sisters were. And she was telling me that she was with several of them, with each one of her different family members before they passed. And even my Aunt Gladys was just a few days shy of her 106th birthday. She said she was totally fine and talking and whatever. And then the next day when she went in, she had a good morning talk, and then she just left in the afternoon. She was just done. She was ready to leave the planet, her body. and just continue on her next journey. But she wasn't in any pain, not hooked up to a machine, not anything. She was enjoying her family, and she was just ready to go. I mean, God bless her.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's true. Such a lovely story about your aunt, and what a lovely individual I'm certain that she is, even though I've never met her.
She's Norwegian, so she's stubborn. She knows her mind. And I said to my cousins, I said, you know what? I can see this. I come by this honestly, but they had to be that way, because even when they were on the farm, their school only went up to 6th grade. So for them to be able to go beyond that, they had to travel to the next town. And so and when they got into high school, the other school only went up to 10th grade. So if they wanted to complete their education and go to 12th grade, they had to board with a family. So and she was telling me about my Aunt Edna, who went out to British Columbia to finish, and where she went to finish. And it just, I think I said to my cousin Gail, I said, they had a lot of guts. I don't know a lot of young girls that would say that was important to them. And my Aunt Edna, who passed away just a few years ago, she was a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse for many years. And at age 80, she said, you know what, I'm going to learn about pie. And everybody thought she was talking about baking pies. And she was, 3.14. And she loved learning. She never stopped learning. Now, she passed just before, around 100. She was 100, but she did not stop learning. She was always wanting to learn new things. And I think about when she passed, all of the students that came that she taught in that one-room schoolhouse was pretty amazing.
That is amazing. I want you to bottle that air and bring some back from me, please.
I will do.
Bottle whatever it is, the ambiance, the air, the energy. I want you to bottle it and just bring it back. If you could do that, you have to put yourself in that position. But it's wonderful that she, it was a different time back then too. If you had, there was a sort of my mother would call it stick-to-itiveness. Stick-to-itiveness is what she would call it, where you stuck with it. You decided what you wanted to do, and you followed your heart, and you stuck to it. You kept doing that. You didn't let anything sway you. And in those days, if you wanted to get ahead, if you wanted to be more than just living on a farm, or in your house on the prairie doing farming and whatever that was, if you wanted to do that as a kid, there were ways you could do that, but those ways didn't involve anything that we today would be any way familiar with, right? I mean, who's sending away their 6th grade is 11 years old? Who's 11-year-old? Who's going to send their 11-year-old, 2,000 miles away to board with somebody to go to school? Right? It's just not going to happen today. And what's interesting about that is that there's a sense of maturity that occurred a lot earlier in life. I know because I was doing things at 12 that most 12-year-olds I see today wouldn't be. Sure. Parents wouldn't be caught dead having, so, oh, no, that's never going to happen with you. You say, yeah, really, it's never going to happen. You're not going to run all over the city and do this thing and play music and go do this and do that.
Yeah, you and your brother were both so musically talented, and it was fantastic that your parents allowed you to share your gifts, and that's really what it was. They didn't have any fear around you going out and playing in the officers' club or wherever it was that people could enjoy.
Yeah, we're playing over the officers' club. We'll go get my kit. We'll put it in at the time whatever transportation there was locally, and get it there. And we all set up. We played the gig till 1:00 in the morning, and then we put it away, packed it up, put it away. I'd get home around 2:30, 3, and my brother and I would come walking in the door. And sometimes we'd play pool because we had a pool table, or play pool or play ping pong till 4 or 5 in the morning. After that,
wow.
And at the house. And what's interesting is I experienced a sense of freedom in every way, shape, and form. And I'm so appreciative to my mom, and I told my dad many, many times before he passed, and I tell my mom all the time, appreciative for the decisions, the choices that they made that gave us the opportunity to experience the world. The fact that my dad, purposely didn't want us to stay in one school and, finish whatever that school was at grade school, one elementary school, and, while he went off and did his thing. No, you're coming. We're not going anywhere with a full family can't go.
You were a family, right.
Yeah, we're not going to, because there's so much to see. He didn't want me to grow up the same way he did, in the same small town, not leaving that town, not able to leave that town, and experiencing whatever that town had to offer, and that was it. And in Florida in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, that wasn't really a great place to be, and for a black family. So I sit back and thank my lucky stars every single day. At least once I think about the choices they made and how they've impacted my thinking today and who I am today as an individual, the contrast that I experienced. And that's what you're in right now. I love it. I know I have to bring this word up, contrast, because you're in a state of contrast right now. You're in a state of contrast, and you're where you are right now is so contrastingly different to Pittsburgh.
Sure.
It's a sensory perception fiesta. Okay, It's a sensory fiesta. And that to me is just. And this is the thing, if I could tell our audience this again, you want to expose yourself to these circumstances. A lot of young people today, the first thing they'd ask about going to Alberta is, how's the cell reception? Do they have internet? Right? That's the first thing they want to ask. You're like, wait a minute, do you understand where you're going? You're going to a place. Let's just get there and don't worry about those things, because there's a lot of young people are so caught up in devices, and we didn't have that as a kid. We didn't have devices. We had ourselves, and we had our wits, we had our intuition, and we had our sense of connection, our ability to connect with other people. But you're giving yourself a contrast now that you're going to think about many, 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 many years into the future, and these are the things that shape us as individuals. It's going to shape you in a different way because you've been exposed to it. You've exposed yourself to it on purpose, and that's what I tell just about everyone I see, every young person. Do yourself a favor. Get out and go somewhere that is completely different than where you are now. That contrast will help shape you, your thinking, your spiritual consciousness, everything. And it's a joy. It's a joy to hear that you're having so much fun. And
yeah, I am. And thank you for sharing in my adventures with me, because and just all your loving support. It just means the world to me, truly. And I'm grateful for our audience as well. And it is. If I am blessed to be able to live at least to 102 years, I can imagine all the different things that I would have seen and things, how they changed and whatnot. And I would wish it on anybody that you have your memories and you don't lose those. And I think about all the different things that, she did to keep that up. And reading all the time, voracious reader, and and the interactions with other people, and the number of neighbors that cared about her that stopped by, and it was sort of fun because as we were packing things up, I said to the one neighbor who checked on her, is there anything you would like? And they wanted something that was actually a wedding gift that was hanging on her wall. And all of us cousins were like, well, no, we don't want that. We don't want that. And guess what? It was exactly what Rosemary wanted. And I'm like, that's perfect. You'll appreciate it.
Awesome.
None of us would have appreciated it, and she appreciates it. And every time she sees that, she's going to think of my Aunt Ruth. And that's sort of, it's just fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's very fun to be able to
little
pass
mementos
those things on.
Well, of that, it's a physical item can really help to spark the feelings that you had in whatever place that was and whomever you were with. And I'm a big believer in little things. I've got my office full of little things that remind me of my entire life. And from the time in Taiwan all the way through where I am today.
Yeah, sure.
It's fabulous, you know.
And even though you were in that place and time at one point, now you're in another one, and guess what, Michael? You're exactly where you're meant to be.
That's right.
Right now.
Well done, exactly. All of us are exactly where we're supposed to be, learning what we're learning so that we can move forward, we can ascend to the next level in our lives, and it's glorious. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for taking me on in the show, and
likewise, thank you for joining me.
Partnering up.
So exciting.
It's fantastic. I wish all of our...
It's a blessing and delight.
Yeah, I wish all of our listeners a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful life to continue.
And until next week, thank you.